Alright, it's Thursday, so that means it's time for another episode of Theory Thursdays. My new segment where you all submit your theories for a chance to end up in an episode. I pick 5 each week to review and talk about on the show. You all vote on which theory is your favorite each week. That theory enters the pool of champions, and then at the end of the month, out of all the theories that won, you all pick your favorite to win the monthly prize. If you would like to enter your own theory for a chance to end up in an episode, you can find the email and the directions in the description down below. Alright, so let's dive into some theories. We have some really interesting ones this week. I'm excited to share them with you. The first one comes from Tahin Sinha. Tahin has some very interesting points about Doctor Strange, Wong, and the Time Stone in Avengers Infinity War. Tahin says he picked up on a few things in Avengers Infinity War. First is that when Doctor Strange greets Tony, he says congrats on the wedding. Although it's very clear that they're not married yet, Tony even invites Wong to his wedding. Yet Doctor Strange doesn't say congrats on your engagement, he says congrats on the wedding. Now this could just mean congrats on your upcoming wedding, but Tahin has noticed a little bit more. He says that Wong just leaves Bruce Banner in the middle of the street to go back and guard the sanctum, which is a little suspicious. Why would Wong just casually walk away when there's a threat to the whole entire universe and he has vowed to protect the Time Stone at all costs? So his theory is that when Banner arrived at the sanctum, Doctor Strange and Wong may have looked forward in time to see what's coming up. And Doc may have asked Wong to stay behind because he knew that they were going to lose, and Wong needs to prepare for the next fight. He says that certainly with the Time Stone and spells, Doctor Strange can communicate with Wong from anywhere, and that's how Wong comes into play in Avengers Endgame. I definitely think that this is possible, and we do know that Wong will be back in Avengers Endgame. We also know that the Ancient One will be back as well, so maybe there's some sort of a connection with Wong, Doctor Strange, and the Ancient One. And it actually makes a lot of sense that Doctor Strange and Wong would look forward in time. If a threat as huge as Thanos is coming, and he's specifically coming to collect the Infinity Stones, which they are sworn to protect, they'd want to be prepared, so maybe we'll find out that this actually happened in Avengers Endgame. So that's theory number 1, on to theory number 2. Theory number 2 comes from Aiden Jost, and Aiden has a theory about how Avengers Endgame is going to go down. Aiden's theory states that the movie opens on Ant-Man in the quantum realm fumbling with a quantum particle container. It slips from his hands and falls into a time vortex. Scott reaches in and tries to grab it, but it's already gone. Scott then decides that he wants to get the heck out of the quantum realm and puts a blue disc in his generator, growing back to normal size. As he grows back, the Pym's family ashes are flying away, but he doesn't even notice them. He goes and he looks for his family, but he can't find them anywhere, so he goes to the Avengers facility where Natasha and Steve tell him everything about the decimation. Fast forward a little bit into the movie, Tony, Nebula, and Captain Marvel arrive, and Ant-Man tells them all about the time vortex, and they quickly come up with a plan to stop Thanos from gathering all of the Infinity Stones. Scott tells them that they need special suits to go inside of the quantum realm, so Tony gets working with Bruce, Nebula, and Scott to make the suits while Captain Marvel goes and searches for Nick Fury, but has no luck. She does, however, find his pager and realizes that he has been turned to dust and heads back to the Avengers facility. The Avengers put on their new suits and travel down inside of the quantum realm and go back to the decimation of Xandar. They fail to stop him from getting the Power Stone. They do, however, stop him from completely destroying the planet. But in the process, a Nova officer gets killed, Officer Alexander, and before he dies, his final request was to have his son take his place as Nova. Ultimately, the Avengers will stop Thanos from getting the Time, Soul, and Reality Stones, but will fail to stop him from getting the Space and the Power Stone. They go to Wakanda for a final showdown, and the shot of the Avengers running together in Wakanda from the Infinity War trailer is real. They end up defeating Thanos, but Captain America and Bucky end up getting seriously injured and are both about to die. But just then, the quantum healing container shows up and Steve wants Bucky to take it, saying, "You're the new Captain America," and then Steve Rogers dies. Tony Stark then goes to the cliff where Killmonger died, and he watches the sunset on a grateful universe. Aiden then says the end credit scene will show Kang the Conqueror in the Quantum City, watching the Avengers discover the time vortex, smiling all the while. There are a lot of things in this theory that make a lot of sense and I think some people forget about. The decimation of Xandar being a big one. I personally think that they didn't show the decimation of Xandar in Infinity War because we're going to see it in Endgame. And a lot of people think that Ant-Man is just going to jump inside of a time vortex right away to get out, but he could probably get out the same way he got out in the first Ant-Man movie. But I do think he will see a time vortex and will ultimately tell the Avengers about it. And Bucky Barnes will most likely be the next Captain America. It happens in the comics and he is a super soldier and he is Captain America's best friend. So that does it for theory 2. On to number 3. Number 3 comes from Lewis and Justin in Las Vegas, with a theory on the second mold that we saw in Nidavellir. They think that the second mold that we saw could be a shield for Captain America. We know from what Mark Ruffalo said that Bruce Banner and Rocket are going to go off on an adventure together. So, Thor's going to need a new adventure buddy. Maybe him and Captain America go back to Nidavellir to forge a new weapon. We've already seen Captain America move Mjolnir. What if the new shield made out of Uru metal operates the same way that Mjolnir and Stormbreaker do, operating on sheer will instead of the traditional magnetism that Cap's shield uses to return, so he could throw it and control it just like Thor does with Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. This could be why Captain is shaking in the trailer as he straps on the shield, because he's harnessing the power of the shield. This is an awesome theory because I would love if Captain America could get a Uru metal shield. This sort of happens in the Fear Itself comics. The Avengers go to Nidavellir and they throw their weapons into a vat of molten Uru, turning their weapons into Uru, and making them vastly stronger. This makes sense because obviously Thor knows that Stormbreaker was strong enough to defeat Thanos, in theory. So why wouldn't they go back to Nidavellir to get more weapons like Stormbreaker? And of course, if that happened, the weapon that Captain America would get would be a shield. So that's number 3, on to number 4. Number 4 comes from Jason Zizkind, and Jason has a theory about how Doctor Strange may have used the Time Stone to save Tony Stark and possibly Ant-Man with Captain Marvel. Jason says that, as you know, Doctor Strange went forward in time and saw 14,605 different scenarios in which the Avengers only won one. Jason's theory is that Doctor Strange used the Time Stone to go back to the 1990s and told Nick Fury when to use the pager and when to contact Captain Marvel. This would explain why Stephen Strange was under file as a threat to Hydra in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. He could have told Nick what was going to happen on the day of the decimation and where Tony Stark would be, and that it was up to Captain Marvel to rescue him. She could also save Ant-Man in the quantum realm because that is most likely where she gets her powers from in the MCU. That would also add up with why Samuel Jackson said in an interview that Captain Marvel was able to time travel. She may be in another century, so that's why it would take time to save Tony Stark on the Benatar, specifically 3 days where he runs out of food and water. Strange could have also done similar things to protect different universes, which could introduce the X-Men and Fantastic Four, because he was referenced in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. This is certainly possible. In fact, why wouldn't Doctor Strange do this? If Doctor Strange saw the one only outcome in which the Avengers win, it would make sense that Doctor Strange would manipulate events in time to make this happen. In fact, he's really the only person that can with the Time Stone. And I can see in Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel showing up to save Tony, telling Tony, yeah, Nick Fury told me that you would be in this exact spot over 20 years ago. So that's theory number 4, on to the final theory, number 5. Number 5 comes from Cody Mashburn, and he thinks that Doctor Strange will use a relic that was mentioned in Avengers Infinity War, the Cauldron of the Cosmos. He thinks that Doctor Strange will use the Cauldron of the Cosmos to look back in time to assist with when and where to go in time and the universe. He also thinks that Ant-Man could end up getting help from the people inside of the quantum realm that live inside of the quantum city. This could be something so subtle but so important, because I do think it was mentioned for a reason other than comedy in Avengers Infinity War. The Cauldron of the Cosmos is a really strong relic that Doctor Strange could have definitely used to help the outcome of Avengers Endgame. I've thought this before, and I definitely do not think that Marvel does anything unintentionally. I do think that it was mentioned for a reason, and it could end up being a part of Avengers Endgame. So that does it for this week's theories. Let's do a quick recap. Theory number 1 is that Doctor Strange had Wong go back to the Sanctum to prepare for the next fight because him and Doctor Strange looked forward in time. Number 2 is how Avengers Endgame is going to go down. The Avengers time travel back to Xandar and they keep Thanos from getting a few of the stones. At the end, Captain America dies, Bucky becomes the new Captain America, and Tony watches the sunrise on a grateful universe. Number 3 is that Captain America and Thor will travel back to Nidavellir and Captain America will get a shield made out of Uru metal. Number 4 is that Doctor Strange actually saves Tony Stark by going back in time and telling Nick Fury and Captain Marvel where Tony will be stranded. And number 5 is that Doctor Strange uses the Cauldron of the Cosmos and that Ant-Man will get help from the people inside of the quantum realm in the quantum city. So those are this week's theories. Be sure to vote on which one you like the most. And again, if you would like to enter your own theory for a chance to end up on a segment of Theory Thursdays, you can find the email and the directions in the description down below. And of course, if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on every Theory Thursday and all Marvel related news. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.